to move to another topic, in this new economy that we're in and in this new shape of Los Angeles and Orange County, the realities of bivocational ministry, that is pastors that are working in ministry and they're also having to support themselves in another way. This is becoming more and more of a reality. What do you, or have you seen, or do you think are some of the challenges and opportunities of bivocational ministry? Individuals working two gigs, essentially.
I think people don't like to come to church anymore. So, I mean, that's a big statement, but it's really hard for people to walk in through the door. And, just thinking as a pastor, you go into ministry like wanting to like affect non-Christians' lives. And then what I found by default is I'm just hanging around lukewarm Christians the whole time, right? and you have to think like strategically, how can I engage myself with non-Christians? And I think maybe as pastors, like being bivocational, that's an opportunity just to kind of work in the real world, so to speak, and start making connections with people you wouldn't make as a pastor sitting in your office doing a Bible study. And so I think that's probably an opportunity if we really thought like, okay, I want to be in ministry, but I need another job. And then just kind of think strategically, what's a job that I could do maybe that will help me engage in my community, in my neighborhood that I'm trying to be a part of God's mission in.
Yeah. That's good.
We got some guys at our church that graduated in the last 4 or 5 years from Talbot, and we can't give them all full-time paying jobs. We would love to, but we can't. The reality is, but so we've had to talk through that and deal with that, and where they are bivocational and they are serving at the church, and there are challenges, time obviously, and energy, and those things, but it also could be a blessing. And I push them and encourage them because you learn the struggles of the average person coming to church, the 8 to 5 grind and what it's like to work there, and fighting traffic for an hour one way, and what all of that is like. And so I think there are benefits, and so I encourage them. But also there are, I think, temptations along the way of, boy, life would be a lot easier if I just did the Monday through Friday thing. And so to keep that fire going, keep that focus there. So I think, seminary is the one thing you graduate from, and it's not like something's lined up for you. It's not like med school or anything else. And so I think we as the local church have to encourage bivocational ministry, and also how do we help them along so that they don't the vision doesn't leak out and they're not just burned out. Yeah. But how do they keep going, and how do they do that and do a 60, 70-hour week without burning out? And so that puts, I think, more of a burden on the senior guys, the guys that are overseeing them, and to encourage them and to follow up and to keep that vision focused. And so I see that as a challenge, but a reality in our culture today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have a youth pastor, David, yeah. And he is just an amazing guy. He works with pets, a pet hospital.
Oh, wow.
So I think he's a medical tech or something to that fact. But so he works graveyard. And then he's involved in ministry during the week with us, and on the weekend he dedicates it to our youth. Our youth ministry is done in English because that's what they feel more comfortable, even though their parents are Spanish speakers. But anyways, Dave, I just admire him so much because he just pours himself into these kids. He takes them. Just recently he brought them to the conference here at Biola. It was a youth conference, and I just see his heart. I mean, he would wish that he can be in full-time ministry, but I can't afford to pay him what he's getting paid right in that particular job right now. But I know he would leave it in a heartbeat to be able to go full-time, So I just really admire. I want to just put that plug in for because they really love, these guys really love, to do ministry, On the other hand, I want to bring in here the reality of the Latino community and Latino pastors. Once again, having been a professor in Bible institutes, which is the only places guys can go and can afford, and watching them being, husbands and fathers and having a job, and then coming to school 2 or 3 nights a week, like from, let's say, 6 o'clock to 10 at night, and then having to do homework, and having to bring in assignments. And it's like, I had to learn to adjust my wife calls it, my Talbot mentality, and not expect so much from them, but work with them, work with them. A lot of them don't even have a high school education, but they want to work, they want to go to school, and they want to do ministry. And I just, my heart goes out for them, So I think in itself, though, the value of it is that that discipline really builds their character, I think, there's no way of getting around it. Even though it's tough, it's hard, but doing both at the same time, it gives you that extra, additional character building aspect into your life. So when they get out into the real ministry full time, they're not going to be lazy, They're going to work hard. They're going to give it their all, So I think there's a lot of value in that, But of course, the ideal situation is, be full time and get paid enough to support your family and do what you need to do there. So I just admire bivocational pastors.
Absolutely.
I think they're awesome, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think also the collaboration that it encourages, thinking about as a recent church, or 7 years old church plant, and talking to a lot of church planters, it forces you to rely on a team. And sometimes structures can become so rigid that there's one dude who kind of runs everything, and everyone else does his bidding. And to be in these collaborative environments where you can't run everything, you need to rely on a team, allows for a ministry sometimes to really go in places that one person wouldn't expect it to go, maybe. So Ken, what about you? Any thoughts on that, bivocational ministry?
Gosh, I don't know how to define bivocational ministry. Are we talking about a super volunteer? A guy's got a job and then he works at the church like he has a job even though it's free?
Yeah.
Or is the church paying him part-time and he has a job on the side that he gets part-time? So those are kind of like 2 different categories to me. So I'm going to take the super volunteer guy.
Okay, great.
All right, super volunteer. And I just talked to one the other day at a church I was visiting, and he is a elementary school teacher, has a wife and 3 kids, and he puts in 30 hours a week at the church he's at. Wow. And he absolutely loves it. Now, we have a rule of thumb for our staff, and that is not less than 40 and not more than 50 hours a week, and then we check their hours and they're 55 and we have to say settle down here, and some are 60. Come on, we would like you to be married 5 years from today.
Yes, it would be good.
And so I like the fact that we have to pull them and reel them in, because it tells me they're self-motivated and all. But I hate seeing guys, well, if he's doing 40 hours, I don't know what elementary school, maybe it's a little less hours, but if a 40-hour week there and you got 30 to 70 hours, you can't do that. Yeah. If I was a senior pastor, I'd say, well, this is going to stop. You can't do that. Your kids will not know you. Your wife will not love you. Yeah. She will love a figment of her imagination that married her a few years back. This can't keep going on. And that's the hard dimension, because the guy is usually fired up. And I'm not talking that particular interview. I'm just talking in principle. The guy that wants to do bivocation, he is really fired up. When I was at Biola and Talbot, I worked a full-time job and went to Biola and Talbot full-time. Full-time schedule, and I was the crazy guy. Yeah. And I was over here at the medics office one day, and I've always had the flare up in my throat and everything, and these little white dots in the back, and I go, why am I always in here for this? And he says, because you're burning the candle at both ends, and if you keep it up, you're going to kill yourself. Wow. And so I had to settle down. And slow it down a little bit, but get through the thing. with paid off. I didn't want the big debt when I was all done,
Yeah.
you know. And so
Yeah.
what I did is the smart move. I get married to a girl who's in the medical field, and she pays the bill.
Yeah.
We throttle back.
And that's how you do it.
No,
right
that's
there.
the, I mean, it's actually true, but
It's
that's
true.
on film, and we want to cut that and take that one back. But nonetheless, my point is, it's hard to do. We are for 10 years, the youth pastor at our church, which you know, it's a pretty good sized church. He was a volunteer. He worked it full time, but he also owned his own business, so he could work 20 hours one week at work, right? And then 40 another week. He could totally control his schedule, and he had complete control over that. And so for 10 years, he did the high school ministry, and it thrived and did fantastic. And he basically was like a full-time youth guy. All I can say is praise God for that. It's fantastic because that frees up money for other aspects of ministry we wouldn't have been able to do. It's incredible. But I feel this almost hypocrisy inside my heart, thinking, don't want them working that many hours for the benefit of their wife and family, right? And the other side is, you know, I don't want to slow down a guy that's, you know, a fire eater for God. There's so few out there. I mean, I want to stoke the flame. Yeah. And so I am ambivalent, confused, and have no real good advice.
That's the messiness of real ministry, right?
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
How do you care as a community for these sorts of people that are passionate and yet care for them as a whole person?
Biola University offers a variety of biblically centered degree programs, ranging from business to ministry to the arts and sciences. Visit biola.edu to find out how Biola could make a difference in your life.